Today we're back with my Dwarf Jade that I started from a small cutting back in 2018. So as we're looking at it now, it's only 3 years old. It's not really grown over winter, but it looks pretty good so far. I did a lot of work in it in the last video, removing a lot of T branches, and I think it's helped it a lot. However, the soil is really compact here, and although it doesn't need a lot of water, it's still not ideal, so I repotted it. You can see here I'm really struggling to get it out. And when I do, it's just a solid block of roots. I'll have to just take my time and try and rake everything out. This little tree has grown insanely fast, and I know that has a lot to do with the grow light, but even so it is just a fast grower naturally. You'll see at the end of this video just how much it's thickened up, it's insane. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm slowly untangling this mess of roots. It's actually not a bad spread. It's certainly not amazing, but it's not bad. The fact it's in a tiny pot means it's going to get pot bound a lot faster than I'd like, but it's alright, I'll just repot it more often. These can take a lot of root work, so it won't be a problem. So once I get everything raked out, I just trimmed it back. You could actually just remove everything and start again as a cutting, but I am actually trying to develop a semi-decent root structure on this, so I won't be doing that. After pruning the roots, I was left with this. It's not too dramatic, but still a decent amount came off. That just shows it wasn't too bad. A lot of it was going the right direction and was the right thickness, so I can just build on that rather than having to remove everything. So I potted it back up, and I just put it in the same pot as I didn't have any space to start changing pot sizes. This will just have to do. It is still growing really well in this little pot, even if it is slightly smaller than what I'd want. You can also see from above here that the foliage is nice and dense, and it is spreading out quite nicely from the centre. Here it is in March, after the repot, with a few funky stones for support. It's pretty top heavy at the minute, so these are just helping, making sure it doesn't jump out of the pot, topple over. You can also see the foliage is looking a little pale here. That'll be from the root pruning and slightly lower levels of light in the tent, but it's nothing to worry about. By April it's totally fine. It's greened up and it's rooted enough that it doesn't need any stones anymore. It's also started to push some new growth, and a few shoots are getting slightly too long, so I just pruned them back. As this is a succulent and not an actual tree, you can treat it very differently. It's actually better to prune it often, rather than just let it grow out really long to thicken. You can basically develop thickness by just getting more ramification, which is why you'll see him always constantly pruning this. In May it's bounced back like crazy. I told you these are fast growers. So again, I just pruned the back. Every time I just prune it, I take it back to the first or second pair of leaves on every branch, and then it will always divide from there and always basically shoot 2 new branches. That means every time I prune, it just gets that little more ramified. And of course, June is exactly the same. It just exploded with growth so quickly. And again, of course, I just trimmed it back and tidied it up. I really think this tree has a lot of potential in the future. In July, it's totally exploded again, but for some reason I didn't prune it, and I don't really remember why. Anyway, that means by August, it's extremely out of control. It's pretty insane how quickly it can get out of hand. So I just trimmed everything back again. These trees are so easy to look after. You just water them and prune them, and eventually you'll end up with a decent looking tree. And here it is after, looking much better now. By September, most trees outside are shutting down for the year, but not this guy. He's still going. But apparently I actually shut down for the year because I totally stopped pruning it at this point. By October, it's so out of control. I had turned the grow light down quite a lot, but didn't really seem to affect it. By November, I can't even fit it in the frame, so you can't even see how wild it's got. But luckily in December I changed position so you can actually see what's going on. Some of those shoots could probably just be trees themselves at this point. It's completely out of control. It has actually finally stopped growing at this point. It's also totally root bound again, as the water is barely going into the pot when I water it. It's basically just a solid block of roots again. I'm going to have to do so much work to this. I'll probably do that in the next few weeks actually, but there's no real rush. And here we are now, still massively out of control. But look at this, look how thick that chunk is now. And that all happened in this tiny pot. It's pretty unreal. So I'm very happy with this mess of a tree, but I'll get it back under control soon. Thanks for watching, see you next time.